is the North End. This is the North End.
Welcome to Last Call Live. This is the North End YouTube channel. I'm here with JP California. We will be expecting Luke, as per usual. He's running late. He's a busy fella doing other things, but he'll be joining us momentarily. The new intro thing is great. Like, it just automatically does it when I go live. I actually don't have to do anything. I just hit the live button.
Oh, nice.
Kind of surprised me. I wasn't ready for it, but StreamYard up in their game. JP, the new father, the man we were just chatting, trying to survive. But you look okay. How are you holding up, brother? You okay? You doing well?
I'm okay. I'm good from about like 8 a.m. to about 8 p.m. and then it's like all downhill. I'm exhausted after 8 p.m. I'm just a shell of myself. And then throughout the night, she wakes up and keeps us up for 2 or 3 hours here and there. And so that's really hard. I'm only getting about 4 to 5 hours of sleep right now. And that's pretty rough.
For any of our viewers who are watching this, if we didn't already know, JP just had a young daughter. How many weeks in are you now? Like 4 weeks?
We are almost 2 weeks in.
Almost 2. Oh, geez, I'm even further along. Amazing.
And it's our first one, so we have no idea what we're doing.
Well, quickly before I bring in Luke, he has arrived. Are you still getting to watch any football? I mean, who cares about the child, right? Do you get to watch
the best
football?
part was
that's really the thing that matters the most.
A lucky charm. She's Villa have not watched, and I've had her watching with me.
Oh yeah.
So Villa have not lost with her watching. So I'll keep that going.
Amazing. All right. Well, speaking of Villa, let's bring in. I'm surrounded. Let's bring in Luke here. Surrounded by the Villa lads. Lukey boy. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for coming. And how are things, man? How you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good. Although I might have to have a word with Evelyn because for a lucky charm, we've had 1 win and 1 draw. So she could probably do being a little bit lucky.
Not a loss. That's pretty good. It's better than.
It's no rabbit's fault though, is it?
2 losses. So.
I thought it was Sunday roast. Are we not doing Sunday?
No,
roast?
We're doing Last Call Live. It's not Sunday. It's Monday. So it's Last Call Live. It's
this is
our alternative show when we lose the other when people are not.
Luke, it looks like someone's sneaking in your back door, dude. Watch out, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, just let them do it.
Luke's ready to end it anyway at this point.
Honestly, I'd welcome it. Oh, about time. There you are.
Well, speaking of busy, Luke, you're I noticed your Instagram post. You're doing some emceeing for some events. Looks like you're keeping yourself busy. How's that going?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm famous for a day at a time, and then everyone forgets me until my next event. So
we just to let everybody know, we brought Luke onto the channel because of how well spoken he was in like for weddings. Like we saw videos, he sent us a compilation. He was hired. That was it.
There you go. Look at that. And then we brought JP on because we got desperate. So
the he's just friends with you. That was we just had expectations.
When you're too busy to do the show,
miserably, so let's
doesn't help.
Yeah,
but
it's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah.
So how are you? I've been good. Have you been watching any football? That's the question. Like I know you're busy. You've been able to.
I have. Yep. I've got down to most of the Villa meetups, which has been good. Changing of faces, passing of the guards. A lot of old faces are gone. But Villa are playing very enjoyable football.
Just quickly to the Toronto viewers, what were you just talking about there? There's a place where Villa fans go and watch games. You want to let people know about that if they're intent?
What's that? There's a place when everybody knows your name.
It's the Wheat Sheaf, man. It actually is. It is actually like it's the oldest bar in Toronto.
It is. It's literally got that written on the outside. I don't even think it has its name. It's got that instead. But yes, so anyone out there that is a Premier League enthusiast, they show pretty much all the games there. You just have to come and ask. But they are the supporters club bar of not just Aston Villa actually, but the Crystal Palace supporters club. So
we don't want to talk about Palace until later.
All three of them get together and talk about how great it is to be Palace fans. So God bless them. God bless them.
There you go. Well, let's get into the games. We're gonna first have a quick look at the table. I think I'm going by Paul's order of how he put this. So it is what it is. can have a quick peek at the table. Man City first now, Liverpool second, Arsenal third, Villa in fourth. Guys, Villa in fourth. This is a great position. There's some surprises in this top 8, though. I would say Chelsea in fifth, I think, is a bit of a surprise for some people. For me, I know that they've have a good squad, but I know JP's hate for them, that they've had a lot of players that have sort of had to manage that situation. Brighton in sixth. Brighton started the season quite well. Nottingham Forest in seventh. I mean, that for them is they're sort of establishing themselves as a Premier League side again, which is good to see. Spurs in eighth, which is kind of like where we sort of deserve to be based on the performances and the results we've been getting. I think that's a talking point, but I don't need to spend too much time on. Brentford in ninth, Fulham in Bournemouth in 11th, Newcastle in 12th. I mean, I think that's a tough one for Newcastle fans to look at, but we're going to get to a funnier one. We're almost there. West Ham in 13th. United in 14th,
where they belong.
It's part of the conversation today. So hang on, because that's going to be closer to the end of the show. We're going to get into the Ten Hag conversation and how sort of the hilariousness of them being in 14th place. Leicester in 15th, Everton in 16th, Palace in 17th. Then we've got our bottom three: Ipswich, Wolves, Southampton. So we are kind of the table is starting to take shape a little bit. It always does. End of October, getting into November, you start to see sort of where the teams are kind of likely going to end up, or where they're going to be competing once we get into Christmas, and then Christmas tells us all the stories. So let's get into the actual scores from the weekend. We start with Leicester City versus Forest on Friday. We had a Friday afternoon game. This is a Forest win away at Leicester, 3-1. JP, your thoughts on this game? Forest again looking really good. Leicester kind of iffy, coming up from the championship, not really performing at the level they need to be in any real conversation of possibly staying up. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, that was my first day home with my newborn. I didn't watch the game. Luke, you're up.
We get really in-depth analysis.
I started my soccer life again on Saturday.
That's fair enough. So Friday was no good for him. Well, we can talk about it. Luke, did you catch the game, or at least catch the highlights?
Which one? The Nottingham Forest one?
Forest Leicester, yeah. The game we're talking about.
No, I didn't at all. No.
All right, so I'm just going to give you mine. I actually watched the game. Yeah, I mean, this is fine. It's a Friday game. Friday games, not everybody gets to see it. You weren't even aware that I was going to start with that because you forgot it even happened. That's where we are.
I did.
On the north end.
Forgot the match even happened.
No, I did see the little highlights of it. I did, but I'll let you take it away and I can add to it.
Yeah, I mean, I just the sort of point to point out, or the thing to point out here, is that Forest look a good side. They're playing good football. They're scoring goals. They're really good counterattacking team. Good little bit of possession as well. Again, Leicester struggling a little bit. Don't need to spend too much time on it, but I think there's a point, and I think we're going to get to this towards the end, or if we do or not, it's Paul put it in the last part of the run of show. We may or may not discuss Forest because you guys haven't actually watched the game, so there's probably no point. All right, so let's move on to the next game, which I think you guys might have something to talk about here. Let's get into it. We're going to get into
before we move on though. Like I think we have to talk about very quickly. Forest is a bit of a renaissance for Nuno. It's a very interesting.
There you go. So now we're getting some talking points. Yep.
Yeah, I did see little highlights, and I think the biggest thing that we should talk about is Chris Wood. Right, he's the third highest goal scorer in the Premier League.
Isn't he?
That's
7 goals, only 2 or 3 players. He's tied with Cole Palmer. Haaland is above him, and I think Mbueno's above him with 8. Right, but you've got to think about that 32-year-old Kiwi who is completely
playing at Forest, who's played. He's a Premier League kind of stalwart, that sort of striker that never got to the top echelon, but seemingly maybe doing it right now as we speak.
He's like Andy Carroll 2.0.
I would say it's a bit different than that, because Andy Carroll kind of peaked early and then slowly tailed off.
Yeah, sure, that's sense. I mean, the style of play.
I mean, style of play certainly, or like size and kind of like the type of goals he scores, how he gets in the box, gets it off his head, the long legs. He's kind of in that fox in the box situation. But yeah, I think that's a good shout. The Nuno situation, obviously I have my own opinions on him based on what happened at Spurs, but I think he's at his level for the type of players he's going to be able to get the best out of, where I don't think at Spurs or a team of that sort of the upper six or whatever is going to suit him, but this does suit him. So maybe we'll see a little bit what he did at Wolves.
Yeah, I think what I would say is obviously, last season Forest was one to talk about because, other than they were the old Chelsea, they were buying every player under the sun. But you look at that team now, right? And it feels like a bit of a Moneyball team, right? You've got a 32-year-old kind of indifferent centre forward who's knocking in goals. And then your next three, so your attacking mid is Anthony Elanga, who was in and out of the United squad. And really, would he not walk into that squad now?
Good enough.
Yeah.
Elliot Anderson. And you say it wasn't good enough, but really,
I put that in quotes.
That's what I was saying. I'd say, definitely really hyphenate that one. Elliot Anderson, great pickup, very, very good player. And then Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, everyone knew Callum Hudson-Odoi had quality.
Great player.
He constantly performed in England unders, 17, 18, 21, 23.
He was good at Chelsea for a period of time, too. Just didn't. I think the timing was poor. There's a
bad
lot
timing,
of cycling going on with the
timing.
management. And I
then
don't think.
You look at other players. You've got Alex Marino, ex-Villa, doing a great job at left back. Murillo in the middle. Ola and Ayana is fantastic at right back. And then they go with Matt Sells in goal. They really have built a very cohesive and very affordable squad. And it's very interesting. And you've seen players that they're picking up that you wouldn't even think of, like Jordan Ayew, right? You think he's been done for 5 years and he keeps seemingly getting picked up again.
He just keeps getting to the next team and doing
But
something.
he gets the next team and he's been scoring goals for them. He's been picking up important goals for them. So, you've got to give credit where it's due. They are playing great football with a lot of confidence, and that has got to go down to that manager. So well done to Nuno.
Yeah, you got to give him credit where it's due. I mean, my own opinion is based on that experience with him at Spurs, but this is quite different. And like you said, it's an affordable squad, so you're not dealing with ego, you're not dealing with expectation. Nope. You're sort of there's a which is sort of, I guess, arguably similar to the position he was at Wolves, right? At Wolves, it was it's sort of a team that kind of had come up and was trying to give itself an identity in the Premier League, and he's kind of given Forest that again. So good on him for doing it. It's a rare occurrence that takes place. Next game we're going to get into, let's get into back to the scores, is Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. We had 1-1 draw. This is obviously, you guys hopefully will have a little bit more to talk about here. Let's start with you, Luke. 1-1 draw. Probably we're expecting a little bit more against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth aside right now, we saw it was against the 10-man Arsenal, but a 10-man Arsenal that is a team that's a lot better than a Bournemouth side. We're able to get a win away at Arsenal. So important result for them there. And then this is a result away at Villa with even an equal, 11 v 11. So Luke, your thoughts, how do you feel about the result here?
Incredibly frustrated. I think it speaks to a bigger problem right now. Villa are unable to take their chances as we did last season, right? So we have players that aren't firing at their same ability. Watkins is still not looking as sharp. He has got a number of goals, so I don't want to say that he's playing badly, but he's not. Like any Villa fan that says he's performing as he was last season is kind of kidding themselves. So we've had injuries, but every team has injuries. Like we need to be taking our chances more, because in this game, bro, we dominated the game. The actual
I watched it, and it was an absolute domination. Yeah,
it really was. Chances actually mattered. Like if you actually look at the stats, it actually seemingly looked pretty open in stats, but the Villa really did. We had a 20-25 minute period where we should have put 2 or 3 past them. Mm-hmm. And it was the last kick of the game, stupid foul, and we just switched off. That's what it was. We switched off. It was a fantastic.
It looked a little bit Spursy, Luke, if I'm honest. It really did. Like I think Villa and Spurs at the moment are kind of they're mimicking each other to some extent. The way they're 1 week they're dominant, they crush a team, and the next week they give up points when they shouldn't.
Yeah. So frustrating, but I'll pass it over to JP because I know he's had some thoughts with this.
JP,
there's a lot of positives from this game I'll take. It's the way we dominated them for about 25 minutes and just literally had them around their 18-yard box for 25 minutes, which Villa have never done. As a Villa fan, we've never been that team ever. So to see Villa being that good is really impressive to me. Having a complete squad back, like everyone's fit. Tyrone Mings is back. He's been in training. He is available on the sub bench. Boubacar Kamara, who honestly was one of our best midfielders for half of last season, is back on the bench. Everyone's fit. Those are great things. But like Luke says, we're just missing that last little bit. We create enough chances in every game to score 3 or 4 goals. We just got to start putting him away. I mean,
I said
John
Spursy,
Duran
man. We're exactly the same.
Duran had a
so
cutback,
frustrating,
and he
so
hits
frustrating.
it, and it's 2 yards wide of the post. It wasn't even really that close to the post.
Yeah.
But he could have taken a touch and finished on the PK spot, and he hooked it
That's
wide.
for JP. That speaks to the little bit of let's call it childishness. The lack of maturity.
Immaturity.
Yeah,
For sure.
He scored some absolute unbelievable goals. Right. Let's give him his credit. However, as we said in the chat, JP, when we were chatting, it's almost as if when he goes on, he thinks every time the ball comes to my foot, I've got to hit it.
Yeah.
It's like almost like he's not playing, and like we want him to do that.
It's reactionary instead of proactionary. Sort of,
correct.
Just,
Correct. And there was numerous times, not just one, there was 2 or 3 times where if he'd just taken a little touch, there was a guy, because Villa are playing very smooth, very flowing football. 1-2, move, pass, give, look to receive, and just that little bit of composure was missing. But with him scoring the way he's scoring, with the raw talent that he clearly has, you have to just allow for that a little bit. And I believe if anyone can get something from this kid, it's got to be Unai. So we got to have the faith with that.
I'm happy about the team. I'm happy about the form. I'm happy about the way we play. I was upset about the result. And you know what?
We talked a little bit in the WhatsApp, and just quickly before we move on to the next game, the sort of post Champions League or post European trips or games that you have midweek, and the sort of potential hangover from those games. Do either of you guys like buy into that? I know that I do, because Spurs have sort of been in that scenario for off and on for the last 10 years or so, previously not like you guys. So you're sort of new to it, but are you aware of like the potential for the difficulties you might face when either injuries or just tired legs or just the mentality even to kind of manage those situations? Like, Luke, are you like, is it something you think is a thing, or you sort of wait and see?
You mean from the kind of the tiredness, the fatigue from the
yeah? Did it come into play in this game? Were you not able to score those goals? Was the confidence not there? Was it just more of a just circumstantial in this situation?
No, I think honestly, Brian, I think it was circumstantial. I think it's actually an epitome of Villa this season. I don't think we've hit the ground running with the same level of composure and that finishing edge that we had last season, right?
Yeah.
I JP, I don't like honestly. Before you comment, take away John Duran's goals that have won us games that we were losing or at best drawing, and where do we go to in the league? We lose 4 or 5 points. And we're down to below.
Sure, totally. I'm not going to argue that his goals aren't getting us some results, but I also think that Ole Watkins will come good. Like, he's still going to get 15 goals this season.
Oh yeah, I'd say at least. Yeah. I think you're fine there. I don't think
great. We are rushed, but I'm not too worried. This is why you have a squad, right? This is why you have players coming off the bench who are making the difference. So.
But this is the thing about having a squad and realizing whether you have it or not. That's the thing that will come into play. You guys will get injuries. You'll then be in the Champions League. You'll have a Champions League draw or a big game in a midweek, and then you'll have another big game on the Saturday, and you'll have to play arguably your best players in both that are available in order to progress. There's an inevitability of that.
We only need about one more win in the Champions League, and then we can bench.
No, I know, but that's the group stage. Like I'm saying, as you get further along, which you will, Villa are winning the Champions League right now. You guys are top of the table.
It's insane.
You're going to get to the next stage of it, but that's when it starts to get more difficult. Is when you're playing. Whoever on the weekend, whether it's City on the weekend, and then whoever you're playing in the Champions League on the Wednesday. So I just
where it's going to hurt us at the back, I think, because I think the mid, we have enough players. John McGinn's coming back from a couple of niggly injuries. Boubacar Kamara, a huge player for us, is finally back up in the running. I know, JP, we keep talking about Tyrone Mings. I'm still really on edge with this. Bri, I think you'd agree. He's a 32, 33-year-old. He was third, fourth choice centre-back. He's never been a prime centre-back. He's a decent centre-back. And
he's a good squad player that you guys need to be fit.
But two ACLs. This is his.
Oh no, I know,
ACL,
and that's my point. Right? Like he isn't going to be fit. You might be in a problem. Might become.
I don't think we'll get more than 12 to 14 games out of him.
We are going to move on now. We've had a lot of Villa talk, and it's been fun, guys. And you guys can have your chats, and it was nice. I got caught up a little bit. Next, we're going to go on to Brentford Ipswich. No, it's fine. Brentford 4, Ipswich 3.
Wow game.
2-0. This was a crazy game. 2-0 up, Ipswich 2-0 up after the 31st minute, looking like they're, like, who is this Ipswich team against Brentford? Brentford away as well. This is not an easy ground to go to and get results or even perform the way they did. They gave up that lead, became 3-2 Brentford after just a chaotic end of the first half and the beginning of the second half. The penalty in the 51st minute got them the sort of 3-2, and then Ipswich with going down to 10 men on a red second yellow from Clark, it ended up tying it up in the 69th minute, and it was 3-3. And then Mbeumo does what Mbeumo does. I think it was Mbeumo in the end of the game. Delap tied it, scored the other goal in the 86th, and then Mbeumo in the 97th minute to win the game. Crazy game. Did either of you guys get to watch this? Because this was a ton of fun.
I did, and I feel Ipswich should feel really hard done because they gave up that PK, and I watched it over and over, and they went to VAR on this, and they gave the PK even though the grabbing and the foul started outside the box. Right. And it started 2 yards outside the box, went into the box, and the guy goes down, and then they give the PK, and I'm like, this is going to get
but the rule isn't where the foul starts. The rule is when the foul brings the player down, when it becomes a penalty. Sometimes. I mean, I think
about that.
Well, I think that's arguably a referee's decision at that point to determine what action made the player
and
fall.
Because
they're always grappling and pushing.
Would have called it outside the box probably.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a stinger. I feel because I want Ipswich to at least get one win. Do they even have a win?
They're desperate for it. They played some okay football as well. Like they've had moments. Yeah. Like that first 20 minutes when they scored the 2 goals was incredible.
I think again, this is another example of very, very impressive squad and team play because, what did we all say at the start of the season? Brentford could be in trouble here because they've lost their goal scorer. They've lost Tony. Off he goes. And unbelievably, first Wissa gets injured, right? So he wasn't really available to start the season. They've tried a couple and then Brian Mbeumo playing in that interesting little role that he plays. He's the second highest goal scorer in the league.
Funny thing about Mbeumo and Tony, they already had to do this last season when Tony was suspended, right? So this wasn't new for them. So it was kind of like they were already had a preparation. So I do think that helped them quite a bit, and they were actually still quite good without him. Mbeumo, for me, he's a player I would take at Spurs, a squad player. He would get minutes off the bench. He might start 100%. He's a wonderful player, and and some of the goals he scored have been insane. And they're scoring in the first minute of 3 games in a row at the beginning of the season was absolutely bonkers. He was a big part of that as well.
It's insane. No, I think a great team, and Wissa coming back now. I actually don't even know how to say his name, but I'm assuming it's Wissa. And he's 2 goals. Does he get 2 goals or 1 goal in this game? Looks sharp. I think they're a great team. Brentford really are a very impressive team, and the resilience to come back and poise.
But very well coached, I have to say. Like I'm a massive fan of Frank's fantastic coach, really good. JP, anything to add before we scoot to the next one?
It was an entertaining match. I really liked the highlights. I wasn't watching at the same time because the Villa match was on, but it was a really entertaining, highlighted match. So I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, ton of goals, ton of controversy. Proper Premier League. A couple of teams that one just fresh up from the Championship, and Brentford, sort of become a Premier League stalwart. They're gonna I think maintain it for some time if they maintain the structure that they've created and the coach that they've got. Next game up, we've got a 2-2 draw, Brighton and Wolves. This was a game Danny Welbeck scores again. I mean, this guy's ridiculous.
I'm here for it.
Talking about Chris Wood, Welbeck's in the same conversation. When it comes to a player that I think a lot of us at the time when he was at United was like, wow, he's going to be epic. He's going to be so good, but didn't quite hit the heights there. Maybe just timing was bad with the management.
Injuries. He had a rough
injuries
time
too. He did suffer quite a few
lot of bad injuries.
Yeah, for sure. Brighton, a good side. We talked about where they are in the table at the moment. They're playing good football. Ferguson back on the score sheet again as well, which is something that he'd been looking to do for a while. Any thoughts about this game? I thought it was just a good tie. It was an expectation of 2 teams that played each other quite well, and I think Brighton probably, as far as statistically looked better, but Wolves getting the job done to get a draw away from home.
I think the only thing I would say is I've never really spoken, kind of spent time. That it's frightening how good this Brighton team is in regards to well coached and well drilled players. Like some of the players on their bench, think of these: Tariq Lamptey, who was linked to Real Madrid when he was flying, Julo Encensio, who's a great player, Simon Adingra. Jason Steele's a great backup goalkeeper. Evan Ferguson, who United were linked to, this young heartbreaker. And then their injuries, right? Adam Webster, brilliant player. João Pedro, who is absolutely flying. Solly March, Yakuba Minta, who has been fantastic. That's their bench and their injury players. That's not even the starting 11.
Yeah, like Brighton been
amazing.
Very, very good at recruitment. Recruiting coaches, recruiting
it's
players.
Unbelievable.
Liverpool have been using them as their They're the team that they basically it was like Southampton was 10 years ago. They're kind of taken that mantle.
Arsenal feeder, weren't they?
Southampton, feeder club for a lot of teams. But impressive to see. Anything to add, JP?
I just think Brighton isn't what they once used to be, but they're still like hanging on to results. I think on any other given year, Brighton would smash this Wolves team. So I don't know. I feel like if they're going to be near the top, the European places, they need to be winning these type of games. But what am I to say? Villa didn't win, so whatever.
But I would say worth watching that game because they messed up big time. They had a 4-on-1 breakout right at the end of the game.
That.
The defender intercepted, passed the ball down, and Cunha
and scored the goal.
Nailed it. Remember, Wolves scored 88 and 93. That was their 2 goals, right? So I think Wolves are in big trouble. That's just one point I'll make. I think Wolves just all over the place.
I think it's them. I agree with you. I think sort of post Nuno, post Neto, they've lost big players. Raul Jimenez is gone. They've some of the bigger players in the bigger sort of system that they had built there has kind of dwindled quite a bit in the last 2-3 seasons. Then I agree that they've struggled to kind of get to that level again and put themselves in a position. But going to Brighton and Brighton shit in the bed a little bit like Spurs did against Brighton. Getting that goal late.
They're getting better, and I don't think Brighton are getting better. They just keep getting some results.
Yeah, I think they're in the like we just spoke about a top 6, right? So this is a team that again we're still early in the season, but it's enough to say that getting these types of results, they've gotten results against big teams. Speaking of big teams, Manchester City against Southampton, everybody expected an absolute spanking here. Really, really tough Southampton. Despite the early goal from Haaland, which I think most people thought, which was a nutty goal, most people thought was going to be, here we go. They're gonna spank them, and Haaland hadn't scored in 3 games, so we're looking at a scenario where we thought City were going to, ruthlessly do what they do. Southampton played some good football in this game. I watched an extended highlight on it, and I was really impressed with the way they managed a Man City team that often, most teams struggle against when it comes to the pressing that they have. Southampton pressed City quite well and made them uncomfortable and made them lose the ball and made them not as, sort of tick, 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 tick like they usually do. So I was impressed with Southampton's performance. Obviously, City getting over the line like they usually do. But JP, any thoughts on City 1-0 over Southampton?
I don't necessarily think City ever got out of second gear. So, they only beat them 1-0, but Southampton can't buy a win. So
they can't score is their problem.
They can't score. They can't buy a win. And City were just like, if we get the goal, we're good. They didn't believe Southampton would catch them, and they didn't. And I think it was a simple, kind of straightforward game. Yeah, we expected a 4-0, but
it's interesting though. I watched the post game. Sorry to interrupt. I watched the post game interview with Bernardo Silva, and he was gassed. And he was like, "I was absolutely And he's the guy who's pretty honest. He makes some pretty funny jokes about Arsenal and them not being able to sort of live up to what it comes to being challenging for an actual title. And he was like, I was really impressed with Southampton today. We were not expecting that. They were much more difficult to play against, to play through than what we're used to. They made it really hard for us. Players say these things. Yeah, it's an interview post game, but
right.
I feel like he's an honest guy, and I feel like, and he was sweating, and he was like, you could tell. And he's a player that works his ass off. So I think there's something in that. And if you watch the highlights, it wasn't simple for Man City. You say they're playing in second gear. That was partially true for some of the match, but some of it they were up against it. So I thought they did.
I think this is gonna be the best chance that Liverpool Arsenal, whoever else wants to pretend they're in this title run has, because this City is not firing at that same level.
Yep.
Losing Rodri is massive. Just think some of their results, right? Yes, they've smashed the Champions League, but they played Slovan Bratislava and they also played Sparta Prague. Right? These are easy games.
They're not struggling in the Champions League. They're not good.
But in the league, 1-1 with Newcastle. They had a 2-2 with Arsenal. Fair enough. Then 2-1 Brentford. Yes, they smashed Ipswich. 2-0 Chelsea at the start of the season. They get the problem with City is they're getting across the line, right?
Yeah, which is always been the problem.
I do think there is room for error. I think if anyone is going to beat City, if anyone wants to win the league, they can't slip, right? So if Liverpool really want to be in contention, I know they're a point out now. Unless you remain 3 points, you
got to win every game.
You got to be there because City aren't going to drop many, and when they do, you got to be ready to take that.
They could not drop. They could not lose again.
I think that's a bit much. I really do. I think without Rodri, if you watch them play, and I do think De Bruyne, as much as he's back, he's playing again, he will get injured again this season. Haaland does not score as many goals when, or is even nearly in the creative force he can be when De Bruyne is not there. There will be games they'll drop more points. They will drop points. They will tie some games.
They'll drop points, but will they?
They will drop points. And then what Luke is pointing at, and I agree with him, is that it's up to those teams that have any potential possibility of being in contention to take advantage of that. The Liverpools of the world know it. Arsenal don't, sadly for them. They've struggled to take advantage of the situations. In fact, they typically fail. So they're Liverpool, arguably, your focus is all right. I don't know what's going on.
It's all over the place.
No, stop doing that. It's confusing me. But yeah, I think Liverpool probably, because of the players on that team, have the ability or the know-how. Just because of the players, a slot might be the reason they don't, or the system change, or just sort of the new kind of situation they're in. I think Liverpool probably have the most possibility of being in that conversation. I think Arsenal are just going to shit the bed again, like they usually do.
Of course you do.
No, I mean, it's just facts. I'm not. I'm not.
I'm kind of with you. I just don't think there were
facts. You can call it whatever you want to call it. It's just the truth.
They'll be
all
close.
Right. Everton, Fulham 1-1. Another
Moving
game
on.
that would. What's that?
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Another game that was finished in the last, and there's 3 games this day that were last 95th, 96th, 97th minute to win or to get a goal to get a point here. One finishes 1-1 at Everton. Luke, any thoughts on the game?
No. I think nothing really to say.
There's not a lot to talk about.
No, Everton need points, and
it's a pretty
picked up
even game between two teams that are kind of like. I think Fulham are a bit of a better team. They're a better coach and they play better football, but they're not really like it's not a difference. It's 3-4 places.
No, top 12, top 13. I think.
Yeah, exactly. JP, anything to add, brother?
Nothing to add to this match. I just think Everton are gonna kind of squalor down at the lower end of the league. I think they'll stay up, but I just don't see them doing a whole hell of a lot.
No.
Yeah. I feel you, man. All right, let's get on to the next one. Chelsea 2 at home, Newcastle 1. Newcastle struggling, really, really not, playing at the level that they need to be in contention or in conversation of, top 4, top 6 European football. Chelsea, on the other hand, surprising, I think, a lot of people with consistent performances starting to tick. You've got Jackson scoring goals, Cole Palmer being Cole Palmer, getting the winner in this in the 47th minute. The second half was a bit dross, but Chelsea finding a way to get the job done against Newcastle. Thoughts, JP, on Newcastle sort of, kind of not being the team I think a lot of us expected them to be after their takeover, and Chelsea kind of also not being the team we expected from their takeover. It's kind of the opposite thing has happened with these two teams. You had a Newcastle team that is Arab-owned, that supposed to have a ton of money, is supposed to be like buying all the best players and becoming the next Man City. You got a Chelsea team completely mismanaged, overbuying players, buying a bunch of kids. Nobody knows what's going on, but one of them looks like the real deal, and sadly, it's Chelsea over Newcastle at this point.
Yeah, I hate Chelsea. I hate everything they stand for. They're just trying to be a Man City copycat. It's like Make-A-Wish Man City. Is that Chelsea?
Good analogy.
$billion bottle jobs. But you know what? They're getting some results again. I think their attack is just so good with Cole Cole Palmer. If you take him out of the squad, Chelsea are nowhere near the top 4. Honestly. You take him out and everything will kind of fall
I disagree with that. I would have said that last season. I think this season you're getting goals from a lot of different players. Their forward line looks way more cohesive. Again, Nick Jackson, I think he's on 5 or 6 goals this season.
Yeah, but who gave him the assist?
It doesn't matter. You play with the players you play with. Like Neto looks really good. I mean, that front 3 is a different front 3 than it was last season. They look much better. They're in transition. They're much better. They're getting up the pitch really fast.
Totally. And Jackson scored, but he only scored because Neto gave him the ball. Who gave Neto the ball? Cole Palmer made an unreal turn and a 40-yard zinger, 50-yard zinger pass beyond the whole defense. It was unreal pass.
Yeah, that's amazing. But we do that. Do we do that with every great play that every other player makes in every other team? We're in the Premier League here. You expect that from your best players. You still got to finish it. You still got to put the ball in the net.
Cole Palmer
last year, Jackson was not
Real Madrid. Chelsea
last year, Jackson was not putting the ball in the net. He was missing sitters over and over again. If Jackson was scoring like he is this season, they would have finished, top 4 easy. Like that. I just think we have to be honest about it as much as I can say.
It's clicking, right? It's clicking.
It's finally clicking.
They bought a lot of players.
I just think Cole Palmer is everything.
Your best players are always going to make you better. That's inevitable.
Absolutely. Yeah, to your point, JP, I think I get it, but also I think it's kind of a bit redundant because you could do that with De Bruyne carried, City for a number of years. They had other players, but De Bruyne was that leading guy. Yeah, exactly. Son at Spurs and yeah. So it's a good point, but no, I gotta be honest. Despite the ridiculousness of Bowley, that was a great comment. I do actually like. I think that's generous, to be honest. Too is like he
is not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Do you know if you I think even when you watch the interviews, they've got the microphone. They've got obviously bro, with the audio, you have the mic cover to obviously stop like better sound isolation and stuff. I think if you watch, I always feel that they hold it a bit further away because I think he thinks it's going to be like candy floss. I don't think I always expect him to just kind of go like a lean down and just like take a bite. He just looks like he doesn't know where he is or what's happening.
He's as dumb as a post.
He really, there used to be a saying.
I don't know why you guys think footballers are smart. Like
but some of them are like I know some of them that are actually quite like.
Dude, you can do mathematics in his head.
Play chess,
Yeah, but
Akanji's like an obscene.
The average football.
No, he is particularly dumb, JP. There's levels. He is at the lower level.
There is levels.
He really is.
You wouldn't trust him with anything.
No, and I agree.
You guys want a story? So I was the education liaison for a charter school that did the education for LA Galaxy Academy.
That's Friday.
I would go out once a month, twice a month to the LA Galaxy Academy and meet with all the young players, usually like the high schoolers, 14 to 18. And I worked with them on their education levels and their history. I had 20 kids in my class, 20 from this program. And they had their final, but they were going away to Texas for a final. And they had to do their final from Texas. So I'm grading all these finals and I'm getting through, and there's one kid who sticks out, and his name is Efrain Alvarez. And he was this breakthrough 16. He was one of the youngest MLS players ever. And he played for LA Galaxy, and he tore it up. And Zlatan even gave a comment and said, this kid's a baller. He cheated on his final. And I called him out and I said, bro, you cheated on your final. I literally put your answer in Google, and it's word for word the first answer from Google.
Love it.
So I called his teachers, his people at LA Galaxy, and they're like, all right, we're going to make him redo it. And I was like, fine, have him redo it. He picked the second answer on Google for the second try. He copied it twice.
You gotta love the commitment.
That has Cole Palmer written all over it, I'm sure.
And I'm like, bro, what? And they're just like, I don't know what to do. And so I just failed him, and he still passed the class because it was a pretty easy class. But still, I was like, come on, man. You could have at least gone to a different website. And it was so ridiculous.
It's a good story, JP. JP with his inside scoop from the MLS.
He now plays at Club
JP's weekly list of who's smarter in the MLS, right? He's going to run through top 10.
Who's smarter than Cole Palmer?
everything.
what we're gonna call it. Coming next
I've got a
week
table that's smaller than him.
on the last call live. All right, let's get to the next game. Game I don't want to talk about, but I have to. Crystal Palace won at home.
I think I should take over this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to get you guys' thoughts on it. I'll quickly just give you mine. This was probably Spurs' worst performance of the season. I know that we've lost worse, and we've had minutes where we've been like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The Brighton game obviously comes to mind, but full 90 minutes is the worst 90 minutes of football Spurs have played this season. We looked like absolute trash, like just really not up for it. Palace up for it. They were intense. They were ready to win the game. They hadn't won a game this season. Dr. Tottenham comes in. Here we go. JP, go for it.
Why
give me the pain.
This is?
What I think. What is?
Why do you think you perform so poorly?
Well, I would give a little bit to the Thursday, Sunday. I would give it a little bit also to our away record. Our away record is atrocious. In 2024, we've only won 4 games away from home. I think maybe even 3. In 2024, in this calendar year, which is insane and really, really poor, and something Andrew's got to deal with. So there's a bunch of things. I think we've got we're missing a ton of leadership in these types of situations.
No Sonny
that you need to have. Our captain wasn't there, so no Sonny, which was a difficult loss. And then you've got the captains of the team not playing up to snuff. Romero not playing up to snuff. Madison not playing up to snuff. Kulishevsky had a shit game, and he's been our best player this season, like ridiculously good, and he was kind of crap. So yeah, it was a game of like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Okay.
You agree or no?
No, I
was like, what's your analysis, JP?
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of the injuries, the missing players. I think it's a little bit of the Sunday to the Thursday, Sunday, but I'm honestly wondering if some of the guys are getting tired of Ange.
Why would you say that?
Because he doesn't mince words, and recently he seems to be throwing players under the bus a little bit.
Who is he throwing under the bus?
Well, he called him out the other week after the game. He just said, "Well, that's not what we worked on. This isn't what we were supposed to be playing."
He didn't call any players, throw any players under the bus. He actually took responsibility for all the results, and certainly pointed out that there were some problems with the way the players reacted, and that's true, and that there's none of that. So I mean, I think you're speculating from a perspective that you're not quite aware of the situation. Certainly he's going to do that. Like, these players are young, and they're going to need to realize that's the situation, and that they're going to need to step up their game.
We'll just okay. Let me to JP's point. Let's just give you this bright. So far this season, 2-1 loss to Newcastle, 1-0 loss to Arsenal. That's whatever. 3-2 loss to Brighton. We've already talked about that was a poor game, and now 1-0 loss. Do you, because this is the second season of Ange now? Is this season 2? Do you, as a knowledgeable, which I think you are, Tottenham fan, do you feel that the Ange ball system can come good? I know he's still got the rest of the season. You think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even questioning it at all. I think so. Here's the thing: if you look at the quality of the football, the chances created, the percentage of the pressing percentage, the possession percentage, every statistic from a data perspective, we're just going to look at that before we look at the eye test, which is something we can talk about as well. Is considerably higher than last season. The most touches in the opposition final third of any team in Europe this season. The things that Ange brings to his team takes a long time for them to fully for the team that they've got to fully get, and they're young, so it's going to take them a while. Like, they're not all Cole Palmers, but like we just talked about, they from an intelligent perspective, it's going to take a bit of time to understand how to continuously do this. This game was nothing to do with Ange ball, the loss here. This was to do with, I would argue, immaturity when it comes to understanding the how to manage a game when you're away from home and you're coming up against an opponent that is going to have everything they need to win this game. They haven't won a game this season. They're at home. It's a difficult place to go. I'm not saying that's an excuse. I just think that's what happened. It's a reason, not an excuse.
By the end of January,
nothing to do with Ange ball for me.
Okay, so same question. End of January, where would you like to be in the league? If you realistically, where should you be?
Realistically, in January, I think we should probably be in and around 5th or 6th.
Okay.
And I think depending on what we do in January, and I do expect some movement, but minimal, but some. We've got another player coming in left wing position as well, like another forward that we bought that is Japanese forward that's coming in January that we already bought him. So just more depth in that position that we need because Sonny is starting to get tired. I think that's where we should be. I think we should be, and then by the end of the season, I expect to finish 4th or 5th. And do I understand that? Yeah, that's not necessarily a progression. I think the quality of the football and the understanding of what Ange Ball is and needs to be has progressed, and the data backs it up. Like if you look at all the numbers compared to where we were last season and compared to every other team in the league, it's kind of crazy the level that they've changed, the pressing, the intensity, the possession, all of those sort of key statistics that I think sort of show you what the team is doing compared to what they did last year. The statistics when it comes to the results, I should say, unfortunately don't show that. But if you look at last season, though, we won we won 8, draw 2 in the first 10 games last season. We got pretty lucky in some of those games that we probably didn't deserve to win, and it was a little bit of a flaw in like the reality of where we were. And I think because a lot of teams didn't quite understand Ange Ball and what he was doing, and like, how do we manage this? How do we defend it? I think teams have figured that out, but Ange is starting to adjust to that too. So I'm still fully in with Ange. I think he's doing the right thing. I think it will work. I think maybe we can go on a cup run. Maybe Europa League's there for the taking, especially with Man United being as shitty as they are. And there's a couple other teams in that competition that might be competitive, but there's a chance. And Ange has always won something in his second season at every club he's been to. That's a fact.
Okay. No, I agree. But yeah,
that's happening. Sorry, I
had
to get it out.
No. Listen, I'm glad you did. On my screen's doing that. Just really quickly, we mentioned a Japanese player coming in. Fun fact for everyone: Honda, very famous Japanese player. He's 36 years of age. I heard this stat today. It's unbelievable. He's signing a 1 game at a time contract. It's a contract that. For a team in a country called Bhutan. It's unbelievable. He signed this random contract.
How old is he?
It's 1 game. He's 36. He wasn't playing. They signed him. The first game, he scores and assists. The second game, they sign him again for another 1 game contract, and he scores 2 goals. And now this team called Paro are top of their Premier League, 1st of 10. And they're currently in the league. It's
for you, Honda. Well done, 36. We all wish we could, still playing at that.
Oh, he's a legend.
Yeah,
he's a legend. God bless him.
Fantastic stuff.
Oh, 38.
Any last digs you want to have at me for the Palace Spurs game, or can I move on to the biggest dig of the week? The biggest dig of the weekend: West Ham 2, Man United 1. Ends up in
go on, United.
All of the things that we all knew was going to happen. Sacking of the one and only, the worst manager, one of the worst managers I think I've ever seen in the Premier League. And I know the numbers and the trophies don't necessarily show that. He did win 2 trophies with them in his tenure there, but my goodness gracious, there
are lies.
Terrible.
Yeah, there are lies, more lies than statistics, as the famous saying goes.
That's true.
And honestly, I don't know if he could have stayed any longer, purely from the basis of Paul was running out of weird statistical analysis to defend him 100%. Every week. It was, you know what I mean? You saw it, didn't you? I was like, Paul, what are you going? Just be like, kind of just like, we're crap. We know we're crap. We've accepted it. But
I've never seen anybody in football make as many excuses for
Paul
their.
Paul is unbelievable, and he tries to tie you in this web of statistics. It's like, Paul, it's really simple. You are shit. That is
your shit. He's shit. Man United are Man United shit. Let's just quickly. Let's quickly look at the table again. 14th in the fucking table. Like there's nothing you can say about that, man.
I hate Chelsea. They've spent $1 billion, but at least they have good play. Like they bought some players that are actually good. Like I actually think Jackson is pretty decent. Cole Palmer is amazing. I think there's several 6, 7, 10 guys that they bought that actually have value and could be great at Chelsea or other teams. Man, you have spent $600 million
on Ajax players. On Ajax players.
Trash.
Yeah,
they're
great.
Terrible. How much do they spend on Casemiro? How much do they spend on Anthony? How much do they spend on Onana's 7th.
Onana's good. No,
place
Onana's
club.
good though. Onana's been good.
Onana's good. He's like probably the only one that's good, but he's still erratic and he's playing.
But they brought him in to play with his feet.
Yeah, he's got a
and
team
he
in front of
doesn't
him that
play
are a
with his feet.
fucking disaster. Like,
Did they sign Garnacho, or has Garnacho come from the youth? Because Garnacho's a good player.
Garnacho,
yeah.
yeah, he's okay. He's okay.
No,
Let's
he's
talk a little
okay,
bit.
but like he's not. He's a Lenga.
He missed some sitters in this game. He looks like, again, I think a lot of these players are better than what we're seeing because of the coaching, like because of the lack of identity, because of the lack of understanding what they're supposed to do.
The whole
It's
thing
just
is complete.
they look like a Sunday league team playing against a team that like has a bit of like a semi-pro team. You know, they just like don't quite know who they are. They've got some good players, and sometimes they look good with passing, but most of the time they end up completely shit in the bed.
There has never been a style the whole time he's been there.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're Manchester United. You are just terrible.
Their style was his excuses. Was it whether there's an injury or there's some other thing going on? He always had a reason or an excuse for it, not a reason. And it was a shambles. And it just to like quickly, there was this moment in the game that obviously this is the game changer. It made it 2-1, arguably a shitty call that got him sacked. But I mean, let's be honest, the performances since he had been there and their lack of identity we just talked about. You guys think there was like it's the foot on the right, it's the right foot hitting him that apparently is the foul.
He like clangs
the leg or whatever there.
But this is one of those ones to me where it's like 50% of the EPL refs would give it and 50% would not.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. And it was a 50-50 ball, and they're kind of in the box, and you know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can't blame this on this is why he got sacked. But it was funny. He basically said the other day, like, I don't count the Tottenham game because we got a red card.
Yeah.
You knew it was bad.
What do you think? Like, really? That's what you're saying?
It's when he was getting challenged as well. Like the Dutch aren't very good at like losing it, but he was just like, you know, his responses was just, well, you know, second most successful managers, and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like you absolute nonsense. Your players are all over the place. And it is a poison chalice because now Ineos are sacking everyone. They're sacking the dinner ladies. They're sacking the historian.
They can't afford to fly their players to the Ballon d'Or. Like,
oh well, that's a bit of a fucking mad one. But like, listen, I'm all for it because United were insufferable. Insufferable.
They're terrible.
I'm 35. They were the worst. And do you know what? A good riddance. And I hope this continues for another 5 to 10 years. I really do.
I agree with you. We don't need to spend too much time on this because we are running out of time here. We're almost an hour in. We've got one more game to get to, and I know you guys got a bank, and so do I. So this was the game of the weekend: Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2. I just want to caveat this game with a little bit of this sort of my position on Arsenal and not being able to get the job done when they needed to. This is another example of it. They've done it again. They were 2-1 up against Liverpool at home, and they sat deep and they took on the pressure and they ended up giving up the tying goal. I do think Arsenal were the better team in this game in most of it, but you'd expect that from a home team. But Liverpool getting the point away from home to stay second place in the league, and Arsenal for me again bottling it. It's just what they do. People call it Spursy, but I think they need to come up with a new name for Arsenal because they're worse at it than us. They put themselves in positions regularly recently that they just keep shit in the bed. Luke?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a fun name. What are they? The Gunners, like firing blanks.
Goners.
The
Gunners.
Yeah. There you go. That's pretty good. I think I said this at the start of the season, right? And I'm still not convinced that Kai Havertz is this player that's going to get you. He's just not going to get. And I don't even think he'd say he's a 9, right? He's a false 9. He's playing in a system. The system's interesting with him, but it's interesting for top 3. Not if you genuinely, I just do not understand the thought process. You're in the summer, you had a really great run last season. You need something. You need that finisher. Go and stick 60 million on Tony, 40 million on Tony. Give him 150,000 a week, right? Convince him to do a season and say, listen, if it's not good, we'll ship you off. We'll have an agreed deal to send you off to Saudi after that. It's like, it's frightening how bad and blaringly obvious it was to me, to you, to everyone else. And I'm telling you, the end of the season, I don't think they'll finish second. I think they'll finish.
I think they're going to finish
fourth,
potentially fourth.
I
do
well.
think that I think the third and fourth position is open, and I think it's because. So, sorry, quickly, JP, before you give us your thoughts, I did see something that I thought was super interesting, that we're seeing sort of an Arteta, because of the lack of being able to get over the line, resorting to sort of Mourinho-esque tactics in sitting deep a lot, and a lot of the sort of diving and slowing the play down, and the things that they win you titles, which is arguably true to some extent. Like, there's credit for that to some extent, but you still got to play really good football. And to be fair to Arsenal, this game, there was a moment in the second half for about 20 minutes or so, I was like, they look really good right now, like they're going to go on and win the game. And then that kibosh, they didn't get a goal, and it ended. I just think this is a team that are starting to like feel like they can't get over the line, and the lack of confidence and injuries, to be fair, are gonna hurt them. They've got quite a bit of injuries, quite a bit of problems from I think Gabriel just got injured at the end of that game as well. So who's going to be playing in those center half positions, and that's been their sort of the reason why they are where they are. If you ask me, is their defense has been the best in the league.
I think it's going to start to wear on them too mentally, because it's like, okay, we can do it, we can get there, and then you fail, and you're like, all right, like, let's try a little bit harder this year. We can come back, we can do it, and then to fail again, it's gonna wear on, and pretty soon the guys are going to struggle to get motivated for
it's in their head
games, and
I think the motivation is there. I just think it gets in their head. I think they struggle with the confidence of it because they haven't been able to get over the line.
Yeah, they're just not to the point they need to be to get the title. And if you want to win the title, it needs to go through Liverpool and City, and they couldn't get the job done both times.
No.
Yep.
So to me, it's just they're not title winners.
I think as well, the Arsenal fans just are unable to swallow a reality pill on anything. And I'll give you a prime example.
Just quickly, we've got BX Gunner in the comments, who is an Arsenal fan. Talk to him specifically. Tell him.
Well, no, he's been in the comments a number of times, and I actually don't like him. I got a couple of Irish fans as well, and they're good lads. But like, I've drawn up on this, and I've given him banter when we beat them last year, and back and forth. But the one thing that really just screams their lack of obvious things to everyone else is the fact that they continuously have the argument with me that they didn't make a mistake and they didn't miss a line on Martinez, a keeper who now has gone two back-to-back best world goalkeeper, number one 2 years in a row. He's won that award today. He won it today.
To be fair though, David Raya has been very good for them. Like, he's not Martinez, I agree, but he's arguably close second or third. Like, he's in the conversation.
No, he's a good goalkeeper, but it's more, what I'm saying is they will flat out not accept how good Martinez is because they're bitter, right? And it's that mindset that
Gunners
is
are
so
always runners,
Arsenal.
buddy.
Saka's phenomenal. He's not. He's good, right? But there is that little bit of, it's just they don't see reality in the way that the rest of us see reality at times. And it's like, guys, like, wake up. And they should have been protesting outside that ground this summer and been like, we want you to sign in centre forward because we are not doing a season without another centre forward. And here we are again.
Yeah. The casual fan said they need Osman.
That's not a bad shout, to be honest.
Yeah, January Osman. Maybe we readdress this conversation.
He was too expensive, though, wasn't he? Didn't Osman? No, Osman went to the Middle East.
Yeah, it was absurd amount of money. Yeah,
he's in the Middle East, bro. Didn't he? No,
he went on loan to Fenerbahce or something like that. I think
he's a Galatasaray or some.
He went on loan, dude. They couldn't sell him, and he wouldn't go back, so they loaned him out somewhere else.
Yeah, which is bonkers. Like, a player like that is playing in fucking
4 and 5.
You're like, what?
4 and 5 though. Like, he's flying. He is flying.
Yeah, of course.
That's a great shout. Yeah, oh my God, he's 25 years of age. You put 80 million on him?
He's prime right now.
It's madness. It's
We're
madness.
looking at him as well, and then the type of player he's going to come in and score goals.
No, we were Dick Levy over there.
Well,
let me just count the coppers.
We paid 60. We paid 60 for for our 10, or for our 9. So the money's he's paid the money. It's just whether he does it right or not. It's just picking the right player.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. All right, gents.
Well, yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, everybody. We appreciate you being here for Last Call Live. If we don't do a Sunday roast, it's going to be Last Call Live whenever we can get to it. JP, Luke, been a pleasure, guys. We will we'll do this again next week if we make it. I'm going to hit play outro and end stream because this is a new button.
Just before we end stream, let me just say this. It's a bit of a PSA. Life is tough, right? We all have tough times, and sometimes you just feel like there's no hope. But always remember, you could be a Man United fan. So,
that is a great way to end it. If
that is the
way
if
you're a Man United fan, we don't feel for you. Piss off. No. Off you go.
This is the North End. This is the North End.